feel good to be back. Welcome.
I've just
to
never
another
heard a welcome like that.
I know, right?
But I love it. I love that energy.
Now, welcome to another episode of the Alphawaves podcast. In the building.
Woohoo!
With the Alphas.
Yes.
Kam
And you
and
are the
Darren.
wave. Oh.
You always like to, what's the word? Ad-lib my intros.
I'm sorry. To support you.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Now, how are you anyway?
Yeah, I'm all good. All good. I loved your little fun fact about the hair. I mean, the
You was gonna
hand
say
dryers.
hair
Why do I
dryers.
keep saying hair dryer? But
Yeah,
anyway,
man.
how are you?
I'm all right. I'm good. I'm better than I was.
Oh, I didn't know you. Okay, that's
So, yeah,
good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Oh, because he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
I didn't even ask.
It's all right, man.
But
We
you
move.
seem so well that I didn't need to. I was just like, you're radiant. So.
No, we move. It's all good. It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're doing better.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, welcome back. Oh,
Thank you.
God, yeah, welcome back.
Your mind's somewhere else, isn't it?
I need to get it together. I need to.
Your mind is somewhere else.
We
but it's
have
all good.
missed you.
Clearly. Clearly.
We really, really have. Welcome back. It's good to have you back.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
good to be back. So, with that being said,
It feels forced, but I really mean it.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
it. I'm just
I'll
a
take
bit
it.
scattered today.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Thank you. Please do.
Mm.
Please do.
So sip some water. Anyway,
Yeah.
what's
do that.
What's going on today? What are we here for?
We are here for a wonderful topic today. The topic of support and talking about, just looking at some myths around support and what it really looks like. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. What's brought you to this? Why are you laughing?
So I'm like, we're just going straight deep in.
Nah, I just mean lightly. Like,
No, you know what? What brought me to this was two things actually. So there's someone in my life who's going through like a big change. And I had some realizations as to what support looks like for them.
Yep.
And realized that I'm just trying to fix things.
okay.
But also I've been going through something in my own life.
Oh, like a real life. Okay. I see why you laughed. All right. I wasn't trying to go there with it. I was just asking in general. But I'm
Well,
with
the people deserve to know. Now, I'm
Yeah,
joking.
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually came here wanting to be really transparent because the way that I felt supported recently with some things that have been happening, it just really made me realize how invaluable real support is,
Okay.
but also how support doesn't need to be this big major take on someone else's problems thing. Like support, what you think could be just a small amount of support makes a huge difference to someone's life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the topic, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
So while I was off, I was like, obviously ill. Had
Yes.
to do my recoveries,
Yeah.
and obviously being a well-being podcast.
Yeah. Sorry.
I even said that. I get.
I'm too, you know what? I had an iced coffee today on the way here. I think I'm realizing that's what all of this is about. All this energy.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
Neither am I. Maybe confused by it, scared of it, but no, I'm joking. But yeah,
Embrace it.
embrace it. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I just had a thought it'd be good for us to every so often share a little well-being tip that we've been going through. So, for myself, two things. First thing to do in the morning, every morning,
Okay.
before you drink anything else,
Okay.
drink a hot water
With lemon.
with lemon.
Yes.
Yes. That's my
Same.
tip of the week.
Absolutely. And if you want to take it to another level.
Okay. Spicy me up.
Yeah. If you want to take it to another level, I put in a tiny bit of honey, like when the water's a bit warmer, so not like freshly boiled, because apparently that's like bad for the honey, like it's not really good, and a tiny splash of cayenne pepper. It's really de-bloating.
I like doing that at the end of the day, actually, cayenne pepper and a little bit of turmeric sometimes. But
yes, I've heard about turmeric being good.
You got to be careful with the turmeric, though, because you'll just end up changing the colour of all of your cups in your house.
Oh, that is very true. Great for a face mask, though. But just as a side note. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my, hour, it sounds like.
Yeah, it is. It's our wellness tip for the week. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I love that.
All right. So, on to the topic of support.
Wait, you said you had 2 things.
Yeah, but we can leave it as that since you signed up.
But I'm so curious. I feel like you should do another one because I didn't bring anything to the table.
I'll save mine and keep it in reserve for the next one in case I don't have it one next time.
Gatekeeping your well-being tip. That's kind of anti-Alphawaves, but okay, keep your secrets, your tip.
Yeah.
But okay.
Gives them a reason to come back next time.
That's true. Do you want to know this mysterious tip? You know,
I better make it a good one.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to be better than the hot lemon water.
No, but literally try it and you'll see the benefits.
Have you been doing that lately? Because you were not feeling well. Oh, and how?
Well, I've continued it since I've been feeling well.
Yeah.
But before I was having ginger in it as well.
Yes, and garlic.
Yeah, but I've kind of dropped out the ginger and garlic and just kept the lemon.
Why?
I don't know why.
It's just too heavy in the morning.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like too heated.
Yeah.
Especially with the cayenne pepper, it's too much.
Yeah.
But I love the cayenne pepper element because it's almost like having a little caffeine boost. Just wakes you up. So.
No, for sure. Definitely. But yeah, that's the Alphawaves. Well,
that's our wellness tip for the week. Yeah.
Onto the subject of support. When you look at support, how important do you think having support systems are around you? The reason I say this is because when I was I've worked with a few people and they've got they have kids.
They got pets, they like kids.
No, they've got actual kids, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it strikes me that some people don't have the support system that you would just automatically assume that they would have from looking at my own situation. And
like what?
I've got no one to look after, or I've got there's always not even look after, but just like little things, just not even to that extreme, but just like there's this little instances where my support system would just be like, oh yeah, it's mine. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 that I can kind of call on if necessary. And some people have 0. Some people might have 1, but it's just always interesting that support systems vary.
Yeah, you know what? That is quite hard. Like, God forbid that I'm in that situation, because I can't raise these kids by myself. Not these kids. I don't have kids.
But you would just automatically assume, innit? Like
that people would have that.
And
not
then
take all the responsibility on themselves. Yeah, that is a lot. And as a side note, before I answer your question, I think being in those kind of situations is what kind of can lead sometimes to like parentified children, like older siblings who end up having to take care of the younger ones because there isn't other trusted adults to do that. So yeah, that is tough. And I don't really know how one would handle that because it's your kids, you know. It's just a different thing. You got to have some trust to be able to leave them with someone, I think. So it's...
Do you think it's all hypothetical, but do you think people should be mindful of the support system they have around them before they then do certain things? I don't want to just stick on kids, just in general. But if you're using the kid example, if you know that you haven't got your parents around you, or they're not able to help you out, you're, God forbid, let me not say you, but somebody then has to do the single parent lifestyle because their partner's not sticking around. Like, if you've had these conversations prior to the action. Obviously, some things you only find out after the action.
Yeah.
But do you think there's a certain level of responsibility to look at your support system before you take certain actions?
Oh, so many questions. I'm going to work backwards. Because these are good questions. So I think that's such a hard one because, yeah, like you kind of do need to look at certain, and I'm speaking specifically about kids because I don't know what other scenario.
You could put it in like if you was going to live in a different town or a different country and you don't know anybody there to support, anyone to support you.
Yeah. I think it helps to have a support system and to have something in place because I guess that with that example, I'd have the same answer. But at the same time, and this is something I really wanted to dive into a bit more later in the conversation, but we're here now, is about being able to support yourself, you know? Like, I think you need to make sure that you're good, you know? Like, you've got your pot of money saved. You are living close enough to a nursery or to the things that you need to be self-sufficient in a certain way.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that your internal system is working because people, as much as we want it, not everyone is capable of giving you unconditional support because
100%.
Everyone's on their own journeys. But you can give yourself unconditional support. You know, your inner child doesn't need to hear it specifically from someone else. It just needs to hear it from you, you know. But going back to your earlier question, which I can't quite remember.
The main question.
Yeah, which was how important is a support system?
Yeah, and do you think you should look at your support system before you take certain actions?
Yeah, so I think support systems are so important because you just don't know what life is going to throw at you. And sometimes you just can't find that voice within you, you know. And so for me, I recently went through something where I just needed like a mental break. You know, there was so much pressure that I was putting on myself, certain things that happened where I was like judging myself and this, that, and the other. And it all got to me to a point where I did have like a breakdown at work, you know, where I just woke up crying and I thought, by the time I get into work, I'll feel normal and fine, you know, because I'm around people. Long story short, I was still crying when HR had to sit down with me.
Yeah.
Because it just did not stop. Like, I really reached my limit. And at that point, I realized that I needed a support system. And what was crazier in that moment that I realized was I did have and I do have a support system, but I just wasn't leaning on anyone.
Right.
So I think...
Before that moment, did you know you had the support that you do have? Did you have an idea, let me say? You can't know for facts until something happens, but did you have an idea?
You know what? I honestly felt so hyper independent with my emotions.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to, I'm going to say was, because I've had a change of perspective now, but I was so used to like pushing stuff down or dealing with it myself or doing all the things that I've mentioned on this pod before, like journaling and meditating and stuff like that. And I genuinely thought that if I lean on someone, they wouldn't be able to hold me, you know, they wouldn't be able to like make it better for me or say something that I need to hear. And so I wouldn't say anything, like I wouldn't ask for help, and I just let things build up. And then it got to a point where it was more than leaning, like I literally had to be held. And everyone I spoke to, including yourself, just really did help me, like gave me kind words and told me things that I just couldn't tell myself in that moment. And that made me realize what I kind of, to circle back to what I said earlier, it made me realize what support is. Like support isn't, these are all my problems, help me solve it. Or for the person on the other side, which I normally am, is like, these are all their problems, let me help fix that. Support is just being able to like be in a difficult moment, be not your best self, and have people around you who tell you that you're still loved anyway.
Did you have a fear that reaching out support might not give you the results that you wanted?
I had a fear. You know what? I felt ashamed. Like, I felt like so ashamed for the things that had happened that caused me to like feel that way. I felt ashamed that I was even struggling. Like, I felt really, really, and it shocked me how much I felt this, because I'm such a progressive thinker.
Do you think you felt that way because of the, like you said, you have that independence of handling stuff yourself?
Yeah.
So it's more of a shame within yourself than somebody looking at you from the outside. They don't see that same level of shame that you feel, if that makes sense.
I felt weak, and I also felt, because I'm so used to being like the strong person, the person that people come to with their problems, the person who just is always handling it. Like, I'm just told, you know, you've got a lot on your plate and you're handling it well. And I never really was handling it well, you know. I've been talking about quitting smoking since we started this pod. So
interesting.
Yeah, actually, let me give myself more credit. I did handle it well at times, but I just reached my limit. And I think part of what was bothering me was not only feeling ashamed, but also feeling scared, because I was like, I fix everything, so why can't I fix myself right now? Like, why am I so anxious all the time? Like, why am I crying so often and I'm not handling it right? And why am I different now? Like, why am I not lighthearted and goofy and funny? And, you know, why am I sabotaging? There was just so many why am I like this, different ways of rephrasing that.
Yeah. Has it given you the lesson? Because there's a lesson in my head from everything that you said, but I want to see if it's given you the same lesson that I've picked up from what you just said.
What a nice test. That's what you need when you've just come out of a hard time, you know, a little Q&A.
I'll help you out. So what I'm hearing, is that there's a lesson here of not forcing yourself to keep up on the parents.
Yeah.
Of being this strong, hardback person, because what you need to recognize is that you're somebody that people may come to and you help them out. What is the difference between you and them as a human? Like, that obviously means that everybody needs somebody or something to go to maybe not even help them, but just to sound off on. If you've got nobody, but you're there for everybody, there should be a point of view that I can't say my word, recognizes that this is a normal thing. Like, it doesn't make you weak to then reach out for somebody. The weakness, I think, is sometimes where we think we're so strong that we're meant to be able to solve everything, right? And if I now go to somebody that comes to me for help, in their moment of weakness, they might look at me differently now, like, but at the same time, I don't think it changes anything. Yeah. It's just a cycle of life that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's honestly what was so surprising to me, and what I felt at the time. Like, I really thought, I think as well, in my head, I was just like, everyone's depending on me, so I can't really break down, you know? And I had nothing to give. I wasn't even giving from an empty cup, because I just couldn't do it. And I was just frustrated and short-tempered so often and blah, blah, blah. And then really, really anxious. And then when I just shared something, and I was scared of being judged. I was scared of being told that, like, things were my fault, or I dropped the ball, or, you know, you just haven't done the things that you needed to do and now you're in this place. Like, I was scared of being told off, you know, or not having done enough. And it was just such a beautiful thing to be supported the way that I was, you know, to have people, just tell me that I'm still loved, you know, I'm still the same. Like, to just acknowledge that I'm going through a hard time, to feel validated, and that, just to feel validated and seen is what I mean by feeling validated. To, like you said, it was the lesson of keeping up appearances. I think that's what was bringing me down even more, of having to pretend. Like, it's exhausting to pretend you're fine, and you'd come home exhausted from, like, being sociable all day and just feeling the way you feel. And to be able to just be yourself around the people in your support system, and for them to just accept that version of you, want the best for you, it really meant so much. And even little things like for example, my mum, because when you're burnt out, when you're feeling that way, you can't even, the simplest tasks are a task. Things like doing your laundry or tidying up or even making yourself a good meal, like, well, a good breakfast, because I don't cook. But
didn't need to do that, but it's cool.
I'm just never gonna shy away from that. But all these
potential
things,
suitors just went down. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, but if anyone knows how to cook, just, you know, I'm ready to eat. No, I'm joking. But but what I was saying, back to the serious topic, yeah, like my mum, you know, I didn't need a pep talk or like talking to you, or like I said, let me fix your problems. But I told her I was feeling burnt out and overwhelmed and crying that I couldn't even do the simplest things. And she just did all my laundry for me out of nowhere. And that honestly did so much for me, you know, like support isn't, like I said, taking all the big problems. It's like, let me just take care of all the small stuff so you can just rest.
Yeah, I hear that. Upon reflection though, how much support do you think you need as a person? You personally, not people, you.
This question's quite hard for me. No, I'm joking. The reason I'm struggling to answer this question is because I think it varies from where I'm at in my life. And I think a key element is how much are you supporting yourself as well, you know? Like I said, I was giving from an empty cup. So I was still in my struggle, listening to everyone's problems and trying to help them. And it's no bother to me, like it's not taking anything from me, but it's taking away time where I need to be resting and decompressing or just releasing and crying if I need to. Like, it's just different forms of distraction at times, but it's draining.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's one thing I realized was cutting down phone calls and availability sometimes, especially in this period, so that I can support myself.
Okay, so maybe that's an easier question. What things have you learned that you need to do to support yourself more outside of what you just mentioned?
Really good question. So my friend said to me, he was like, when you tell someone who's really in like a moment and distressed, you know, like say for instance someone's going through something and you're trying to like pep talk them or cheer them up, but they just need to be met where they are in that moment. What I realized I was doing that wasn't supportive was trying to, and then giving myself a hard time for not doing things that help me in the long run, like meditating and stuff like that. And my friend put it really well. He said, when you're in that state, it's like trying to meditate with like bombs going off everywhere, you know, like you're just in a state. And I think what I learned was supporting myself was just allowing myself to unravel, you know, not to avoid certain things or pretend that it's fine. And kind of like what I just said about meeting someone where they're at, it was also having to meet me where I'm at and acknowledge that something within me was distressed.
That takes a lot of reflection, I guess.
Yeah.
Have you now seen times in your life where you might have been better served doing exactly that? Or have you not even had a chance to reflect yet?
You know what? The biggest difference this time round, like, because I've always had like a struggle moment, like here and there, as everyone does. It's just never been this severe before. But the thing that really, 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 really made a difference for me was the support from my workplace.
Okay.
That was different, you know, because I think that's what's created like a backlog of stress with me as well, like from previous roles, not really having that space to do that, because work is one of the biggest places where you come in and you kind of not have to pretend, but you have to get on with things.
Yeah.
So when my manager kind of pulled me up on certain stuff, you know, like taking more sick days and being a little bit later, she was initially very compassionate. And I think that already set an open tone for me, where she said, you know, like, you were fine before the holidays and you've come back and the standard has slipped. Like, is everything okay? How can we support you? And obviously workplaces use that phrase all the time, but my workplace really meant it. And when I spoke to her and I reflected, you know, an event occurred in the holidays that really affected me. And it was because she asked me that question, you know, and put it that way, like, the standard has kind of slipped, that I look back to what was different before and after. And then I put it to that event. And when I spoke to her in my meeting, my workplace have mental health champions. It is just so essential to have a setup like that. They have mental health champions who are people who utilized the mental health benefits that we have at our workplace. So mental health first aiders, who are our HR team, they're all trained to do that. And then we also have like this benefit called, I think, U-Life, which is like a counseling service and stuff like that. You have like a certain amount of sessions, but it's just really good. All these things did a few things for me. So it felt like when I was speaking with a mental health champion and she was like, are you comfortable with me sharing this with HR? Obviously I was like, no, as most people are. And unfortunately, as they do have to be in their workplaces. But she was just like, a year ago, I was you. Like, I felt like this. I've spent a lot of these phone calls crying with people. And who knows, a year from now, you could be a mental health champion. It's just having someone to talk to you, to like guide you through, or just be there, just someone to talk to you, you know, that's kind of what they do. And then I spoke with HR, like at the mental health first aiders. And even that phrase alone really means something, because it just felt so amazing. Like, you know, when you might be unwell or having surgery or something and you're in the hospital and it's not a great experience because you're not well, but you are so looked after, you know, like you at the press of a button can call a nurse, all your needs are being met, you're treated in such a fragile manner. And it really does initially feel so embarrassing to have to do that mentally, but that is how they treated me.
Right.
And to just be able to have a workplace really care about you and say, you know, we really actually care about your well-being and we're not going to get the best out of you unless you're feeling better. So here's a week off, here's access to this counseling service, here's regular check-ins with the mental health champion. Like, we will not let you fall. Like, we're sorry that it's even gotten this far, but we're not going to let that happen. That kind of support, I didn't even know existed. I've never seen before in a workplace. Like, is that something that you've ever
come across?
Yeah.
Not to that extent. I know, like, of places that offer assistance and places you can go and speak to, but I don't know to what extent it goes, because I'm just not privy to all of that information.
Yeah.
But interestingly, out of everything you said there, how much support do you think a place like a workplace owes you? Or maybe owes the wrong word, but how much support do you think they should be given, do you think?
The amount that they gave, you know, because I'm going to flip a table. Like, every workplace needs to do this, because one, it's just so necessary. I'm not unique. I'm not the only person who's had this. That's why I asked it, because I was going to lead on to something. Yeah, I'm not unique. They said, the mental health champion I was speaking to was someone who felt that way. And she shared a story about her sister who didn't share anything with work and then unfortunately got fired. You know, I've known people who have shared things with work and they still got fired. So many people are going through something. Like, you're not the only person who has something. It's just that sometimes your something is a lot at a different time to another person. But I digress. That's a side note. But yeah, the second reason workplaces owe you that level, because the thing is, it's not about, again, like, support fixing your problems. Like, the reason that this went so well for me is because I was so willing to feel better, you know, and be open and kind of say like, enough's enough. Like, I'm coming to work so out of character. Like, I've never done this before in my life. It's just gotten to the point where I really have nothing to lose. And we're at work all the time.
Yeah. This is why I asked that question, because I think there's a duty of care element.
Yeah.
And the landscape has changed completely, right? Like, before, mental health was such a thing that was championed as much and spoke about as much, and what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, advocated as much as it was now. It was a different time in life where maybe the only support you would get is if you have a bereavement, let's say. Like, you get a little bit of compassionate leave.
Which is like 3 days. It's mad to me.
Right. But at the same time, you kind of get the balance of work needs to still be done, right? And everybody's going through something, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what I think is part of the duty of care is 2 reasons. Number one, like you said, initially, your performance levels will never be what is needed when you're going through stuff. Like, it's just not going to happen unless you're like doing something that is do or die kind of thing. It's going to become less and less important if you've got other real stuff going on in your life, right?
Yeah.
Second thing is, you spend so much time in this place that there is a level of care that should be afforded to you. Like, if you're going through certain things, you can't expect somebody to just push everything that they're going through to the back. Come to this. Excuse me. You know when you feel a sneeze coming, but it's not coming.
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time.
You come into this place constantly and not having the human element at all whatsoever. Off the back of you now expressing, certain adjustments can be made for you.
Yeah.
Certain little things can happen for you, but now it's on you to now take it and not take advantage, if that makes sense, but take advantage, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
That does make sense.
Take advantage in the right way.
Don't like milk it and drag it out.
Right. But take advantage of what's afforded to you. Do you feel now, not that you owe them something back, but do you feel a bit more respected as a person?
It is that. I feel so, and respected isn't really the word, because it didn't feel like we're doing this because we like you or respect you. It was just like, we're doing this because we care and you need it. So I feel cared for, and you know, I was going to continue pushing through, but I just wasn't really feeling super better. And my head of department, like I said, she gave me the week off, and just having that time to use that time however I want to use it, however I need to use it, but just to know that they're holding down the fort and no one's expecting anything from me, the pressure's off. It's made me so, I don't feel like I owe them, but I feel invested in, and I feel like I want to invest in them. And what you brought up about work is so interesting, about not being able to do it well, because that's kind of what was happening. Like, I was making the silliest mistakes. Like, my mind was just foggy, where mistakes I didn't even realize I was making were being made. And I don't, you know, I'm detail oriented. I don't really do that. So now I feel so refreshed and motivated. Like, my work no longer feels like another thing on my shoulders or on my back. It feels like stability now, like a stable place.
I think that's so important, and a lesson to managers and workplaces is, if you see somebody that you know was performing or whatever, standard slipping, before you go with accusations, and it might be factual information, but check in on the person first, check in on their well-being, because we as people, we don't see workplaces as somewhere that your well-being really matters or is at the forefront anyway. But knowing that it is a safe space can make a big difference to someone.
And there's such a like get on with it attitude, you know, and I don't oppose that completely, because you do need to get on with things. Like you can't like let stuff fall by the wayside. You have to keep moving forward. But at the same time, like when you do just feel genuinely burnt out, it is, and you find it so hard to even like get out of bed, not because you're feeling depressed or this, that and the other, you're just numb, like you are burnt out. Expecting yourself to like go to the gym and this, that and the other and blah blah blah, there's a step in between that space and then that space, and the gap in the middle is support. Like it feels so nice to go into work now knowing that I don't have to pretend that everything's fine and then cover my tracks when I'm making mistakes. And then when this is happening, like this is why it's so important to be human first. Like I knew that my standards were slipping, so I'm taking it as like, oh, I'm self-sabotaging and they can see it and they think I'm lazy and, you know, I'm not doing a good job and they're not going to want to keep me on. Like who's going to want to work with me? All this mental chatter was exhausting. And I think it's just disgusting and unacceptable to expect people to work like this, you know. People aren't here to just give and give and give to their workplace. You got to give something back, and a paycheck isn't enough. Like mental health is not a benefit, you know, it's a real requirement.
I would say the landscape changed, so I think it's obviously adapting to the times that we're in as well. It's interesting because I am a person that is just like just go, grow, go. Like it doesn't really, I don't really try and let things home. And when it does, I still just try and get on with it. And I know sometimes that's not the best way to carry on in life, but obviously we've had that conversation before. Especially with men, there is such a thing of just cracking on with it. Like you don't really have a place where you can sit back and talk or have those vulnerable moments where you can express the need for support. It's more like if it's identified, sometimes you find yourself in a real moment where you're having a real conversation out of the blue, but it's never something that's manufactured, if that makes sense. The only one time in my life I think I've ever done that is, I must have been early, I can't remember the year, but early 20s anyway. And I lost like 3 people at different, like the close proximity of time, but they were like at different ages. Like one might have been a uncle, one might have been a friend, one might have been a close person, a family person. And it was like, at that time in my life, I was also on a transition as well. So it was just a crazy time where I was just like waking up every day thinking, what is going on? like what is really happening now? And that's
devastation.
Yeah, but at the time I didn't really take it on as if, I don't know what I took it on as, but it was just like, what is going on?
You're just like in survival mode.
Literally. So I was just getting on with it. But then I realized that like, I just didn't want to be here in terms of like the places that not in life. I just didn't want to be when I was going into work or whatever. I just didn't want to be there because I just felt like there's too much going on right now and I've got no answers, no clarity. This is the last place I want to be right now. But I didn't want to be at home. I'm one of those people that can't just stay indoors doing nothing. Like I love being indoors, but I like that to be on my terms, not feeling like I'm hiding away from something. So I actually used some support thing where I felt where you could phone and speak to someone. And like I spoke to this guy and he was very helpful, but it was also a thing of like, when I was doing it, I'm like, I didn't know what to say almost because it's like, what am I actually going to say right now? So I'm talking to him, whatever. And he wasn't trying to give me answers, if that makes sense. He was just
giving you room and space.
Yeah. And sometimes that is all you need. Yeah. Like you don't need the answers. I like to still figure things out for myself. sometimes it's good to hear someone's opinion, but sometimes you just need that room and space to just
let it out
and figure things out. And even while you're talking, you're figuring things out while you're speaking. But yeah, it was an interesting time.
You just need to take it out, you know, like,
yeah,
it's so crazy because our inner child just wants to be seen. That's it. And I think it's so funny you said that he wasn't telling you what to do, because before I reached out, well, I didn't really reach out, I was in a crisis, but before all of that, I kept saying, like, I wish someone could tell me what to do. I wish I had someone to just tell me what to do. And I didn't need that. Like, I needed, you know, the room. But it makes me so sad, Darren, that you only had that opportunity once to, like, call someone and speak to someone, you know, and created that opportunity. Like, how did you, because that's really hard to, like, lose 3 people all in one go. And that period of time, like, to just have to be fine.
Do you know what's weird, yeah?
Fine.
Since then, I've never really spoken much. Like, when things happen, I just get on with it. And life's, I'm about to, there's a contradiction in life, yeah? Because I say nobody's coming to save you. And there's plenty of times when you're going through stuff, and that's always in the back of my mind. Like, I've just got to get up and get on with it because no one's coming to save me. But I do also recognize the freeingness of speaking sometimes. Like, not even to share a load, but it's almost like, I use that analogy of the gym. You can be going gym weeks, but you want to now achieve a higher weight. You could either do that the slow way of building up and then taking that chance of just trying to lift something heavy. It's heavier.
That sounds mad.
But you don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Or you can have someone there to spot you, support you, and then they don't need to be there again, if that makes sense, once you know that you're confident enough to handle this. And I've recognized that in life sometimes you just need that person there as well. You don't actually need them to help you, but
just a soundboard with. Yeah.
It allows you to then move on to the next step a bit smoother. The transition can be smoother.
Because you're just muddled up inside. You have all these emotions and nowhere to put it. And it really bugs me so much when I hear men talk. I was talking about this with someone the other day and they were like, I just get on with it. You know, I don't let things stress me out because of how it affects me. And I really admired that, you know, in terms of if you know that things affect you a certain way, there's this preservation or self-preservation or protecting your peace because you cultivated it. But at the same time, life is so unpredictable.
It is, but you can't stress anything that's out of your control.
But it does.
I get it, but
human, like, you're gonna have a reaction to something, like things like that, you know, like when you lose loved ones, or even things where you see a loved one experiencing something that's so new and scary to all of you, and you just know that they're going to meet challenges on their journey, and you just can't bring them protection or joy or anything that feels good. You just have to be there for them through every step. You can't control that, but you're going to feel things about it.
I think that's probably harder, like seeing people going through stuff and you want to do more than support. You want to actually walk them through it or be there by their side and help them through it, and recognizing that
or
sometimes
do it for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, or sometimes actually doing the thing for them, but sometimes that's not beneficial.
It's never beneficial.
There's hardly any lessons learned there.
It's exactly. So that's what I was going to say. You're robbing them from an experience of growth.
Yeah.
That they signed up for, you know. Everyone is owed growth. You know, you can't protect them from it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's always going to be things in life and in the lives of the people around you that's going to affect you. And one man can't do it all.
100%. I agree, but
like,
I hear you
because I hear you because I felt the same way with like feeling weak over how I was feeling, or feeling like I can't afford to take a step back because I still owe people help. Like I still have to help everyone else with their things and their inner work and stuff like that. And guess what? I didn't do it and nothing bad happened, you know? Like it's okay to say no sometimes, and it's okay to like lean on people.
Yeah.
But I just really, because the thing is, and I'm only relating to it from how I felt with it. I feel like maybe men sometimes feel like if I do this once, if I unravel, I'm never going to get back to myself. Like, I don't know how far I'm going to unravel or what that's going to look like or what that's going to spiral into. But you're not realizing that you're spiraling up, you know? Like, you're not going to lose yourself by unraveling a little bit and sharing how you feel or feeling a type of way about something and letting that out.
Maybe.
Yeah, like no one ever loses themselves, you know? Like that's what I was scared of too. I was just like holding myself so tightly because I was like, if I let it go, I don't know where it's going to go. And it just was not as bad as I thought it was. And it actually just wasn't bad at all. Life really is sometimes that hard that you actually do just need a moment to be in the chaos of it freely.
I don't know. It's so hard to look at it from that point of view sometimes, because it's just like when life hits you hard, you just get back up, and it's hard to then think to yourself, how do I take a pause in that moment? Because you don't want to be down for too long. You're down for 10 seconds and you're counted up.
But that's the thing. You don't let yourself be down for too long, you know, and you won't lose that. Like, for instance, like I said, I had this week off. The first day, I wasted the whole morning planning what I'm going to do every day of the week. And then I was like, you can't do that. It's got to be a moment by moment thing. And today you're just feeling like resting. You're not feeling like journaling or this. Because I was like, I'm going to soak in all this information and watch these YouTube videos that make me feel good and blah, blah, blah. And then I realized, no, there's a reason why I'm not able to do that. And all I'm able to do is lie down in bed, and not in a sad way. Like I felt good about it. Like I had fruit in bed. I like couldn't even watch a movie, but I was just scrolling on my phone. And even when I couldn't watch a movie, it made me realize with the state I'm in right now, I'm decompressing. I have no room to take in anything. Like that's where I'm at. And then the next day, I think I had like a super productive day. Like I woke up early, I got some errands done, just some life things. When you are rested, when your spirit is rested, nothing is holding you down anymore. And I think part of why, and I'm not just going to hold it to men because I did feel this way too, part of why you feel that way is because stuff is already holding you down and you're trying to push through that surface. So you're scared that if you give yourself a pause or a moment or look at yourself with knowing that you're not going to get back up because you're already struggling. But it's like having someone pushing you down underwater and then just allowing yourself to float to the surface, you know? It's not hard to get up when you have the strength to do it, when you've re-energized yourself.
Yeah.
And it's never going to look like what you thought it would. Like I thought that week off was going to be me crying as much as I was beforehand, or really, really upset. And I was getting kind of like, am I wasting my time here? Like this precious week that I have by not sitting down and crying and journaling. And I realized I needed the rest. And what's actually happening for me here is a change of perspective rather than continuing to break down, you know? And what did change that perspective was having people around me know that I'm struggling and being able to hold out a hand. It's just such an invaluable feeling to be held, Darren. It really is. And the worst thing is the people around you do just love you. Like that's all they want to do. Yeah.
No, I can imagine so. Can imagine so. But I don't know. Maybe I'll get to a point in life where I'll need to take that time. But currently my mindset is just that nothing's beating me.
But you're not being beaten.
I know. That's my point. Like maybe I'll get to that point where I realize that it's not me being beaten, it's just a moment. And I kind of have that feeling even with me being sick recently. I'm not somebody that likes to, not that anybody likes to be sick, but I just don't like just lying down, resting in bed in the daytime. Like I'm always wanting to be active. I'm still young. I don't want to just be in bed. Yeah, like I've always. Such
an extreme way of thinking.
I know, but my mind, the way my mind works is my mind's always ticking. My mind, like I never have a dull moment in my brain, even if I'm just chilling. Like there's always something going on. So to take that away completely, just to rest, was crazy to me. But what I realize is that sometimes you can be working through stuff and going through stuff for so long that you will be sat down, and that's what happened. Like I had probably been carrying little sickness from November. Not probably, definitely from November, because I had a conversation with someone in November, and then I had a conversation with somebody whenever it was 2 weeks ago, before I got sick, like literally right before I got sick, and a part of it was the same thing, like, I'm still not feeling great, but I'm just cracking on, yeah? Then obviously, I got sick and I had to actually sit down for a minute. And it was like, even in that moment, the first day I was like trying to fight it, like, nah, man, I'm getting up. And
I'm fine.
Then I had to actually sit down. But then I tried to get back up a bit too quick and get back straight to it. And it was like, doing that is not going to benefit me. So just actually take the time to rest and listen to what's going on. And the support around me allowed me to do that. Like, there wasn't pressure of, all right,
you
cool.
Gotta get better because you gotta do this.
Yeah. It was like, no, take time to get rest. We'll handle X, Y, and Z. And then when you're ready, come back to it. And that's, I guess, the same thing, but just on a different level.
Yeah, and it is the same thing. It's like your body talks, you know, like you've got to listen to it. Like if you're feeling, you know, as in your example, like you're getting ill and you're tired, why would you punish yourself? Because that's what you're doing. I was doing the same thing. Like I was walking around like this, like my shoulders and everything just so tight, and I was like, why am I punishing myself? Because that's what you're doing. Like that really, really is what you're doing. And what was crazy as well is during that, up until that period of time, I really overestimated how needed I was and what was going on in the lives of people around me, because I was just like, I need to do this for that person, I need to support this person in that way, I need to do this, I need to do that. And then when I was having my breakdown, they were just like, or my whatever, they were just like, no, I'm actually good. Like my mindset is here, you know. And when you're open, when you're vulnerable, when you're communicating, people communicate back, you know. You're not just filling in the gaps yourself.
100%. I mean, I would say all of that to say support is necessary. Support yourself, recognize the
simple.
Support.
Like it is simple, because one thing I wanted to touch on as well, and I mentioned it earlier, was being the supporter, not just the supported. And you know, I have someone in my life who's going through a big change, and I thought that the way I'd support them is by practically helping them on that change, finding solutions. So I'd be updating them like, I looked at this, I looked at that. And then I saw that they were struggling a bit internally, and I had a deeper conversation with them and just gave them space to speak. And they literally just said the same thing that I said, that I didn't realize how much it helps to speak, you know, and just let things out. And it made me realize that it's so painful to actually be the supporter sometimes, and to do what that requires, which is just to be there and listen, because you just love someone so much, it physically hurts you and makes your stomach drop to see them in pain. And you kind of don't have to put that to the side, but you have to be brave enough to share that moment with them, you know, like to be a support and to allow them to have room to be every version of themselves. And like I said, remind them in every moment that they are still loved.
For sure. That's a good place to wrap it up I agree. Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that support's not about answers. It's just not always about answers, let me say.
Yeah. And you don't need to put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, before we bring it to a close, I think you got something for us.
I do, and you've got it.
Yes.
We've got a dilemma. Whoop whoop. So came across this dilemma, which brings up a really interesting conversation around support. Indeed.
There you
go. Am I gonna
my good friend?
All right, now I'm your good friend.
In your best reading voice, please.
No pressure. All right, so this is a Am I the Asshole Reddit scenario. And the title is, my husband found out about my money. He broke down sobbing and left the house.
Right.
When I first read this really is quite wild. There's a lot of different elements to it. So the scenario is this. My husband has never shown signs of being dangerous and really rarely ever gets upset. He gives and trusts me with all his money. He believes that I can manage the money better, and he showers me with gifts whenever he gets extra dollars because he knows being a stay-at-home mum is one of the hardest jobs in the world, although we are child-free. You heard me. He buys her gifts because she's doing one of the hardest jobs in the world, which is being a stay-at-home mum, but they are child-free currently. Interesting setup.
Anyway.
Yeah.
let me not nitpick. But
Oh, we can. But when we got married, my mother came to me privately and talked about setting aside money for a rainy day or escape fund. If the worst came to worst, the way she talked about it seemed like a no-brainer to have.
Escape? Okay.
I know, there's so much to unpack here. Since my husband made a comfortable mid-six-figure salary, everything was good until about 2 years ago when he was injured at work in a near-fatal accident, giving him permanent walking discomfort.
Ooh.
Yeah. Between hospital bills and a lawsuit that we used nearly all of our savings. I wrote it wrong. But we lost nearly all of our savings. We also had to sell all our investments, like the car that took him 20 years to purchase and build and, invest in. I took a part-time job while my husband was recovering, but when he fully recovered he transitioned back into me being unemployed, as my husband insisted that it was his role to provide.
Okay.
He currently is working 2 full-time jobs and Uber on the weekends on his days off to keep us afloat. I still do all the expense managing and have continued to put the money into my escape account, although the amount has decreased from $750 a month to just $200 a month. I still do this because I honestly believe that we don't know the future ahead of us, and no matter how great my husband is, I need this money if I need to escape. I can't wait to hear your views on this when we get to it, that particular part. My husband now works from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. so that we can still cover all of our expenses at home. He came home exhausted and asked me about downsizing because of the stress of work was going to kill him. I told him downsizing was not an option, as I had spent years making our house a home, and offered to go back to work. He tried to be nice, but basically told me that my going back to work wouldn't make enough. My husband went through the finances to see where we could cut back. And obviously, this is where it gets interesting. So he was confused when he saw that I had regular occurring withdrawals leading back years and asked me about it. I forgot about it and acted like it was all for the house, but he's not stupid to not notice the same amount from years back, and we eventually got into a heated fight. So I broke down and revealed my money to him, which noted at about $47,000. I mean, she saved well.
I don't know.
You can say that. So that's a comfy escape. After I told him everything, he just kind of looked out of breath and broke down sobbing. His point of view is I treated him like a predator and hid money from him for years. Even when he was at his lowest, I told him that the money was a precaution I would have taken with any partner and not specific to him. He left the house to stay with his brother and said that I hurt him on every possible level. But my mum says this is exactly what the money is for and I should bail. Am I the asshole?
Now, yeah. Two things. Two very key points here to me. Mm-hmm. Number one, the money that she's saving is this money that he's given her. Because where's this money coming from?
Darren, she's a stay-at-home childless mum.
So the money that she's putting into this escape fund,
that $750
is money that he's given to her on a month. Let's say a monthly allowance to do. No, she says she has access to the money, right?
Yeah,
she was looking
she
after
looks
the
after
money.
all the finances because she's better at it.
So his income comes in. She takes this little money to herself. Cool. That's wrong to me. First of all, because it's not your own earnings. If it was her own money, she had a little job or a little hustle, and then she didn't tell him about it, but she was just using that money. Let's say while he was at work, she was, I don't know, doing something.
Yeah.
Yoga instructor. Something. I'm trying to think of something that's
She's using
above.
her time in some way.
Yeah, something above board. Like,
yeah.
But she just didn't tell him about it, and then she's just been putting that money to the side, stacking that money. Cool. But he's been giving her this money, right? So when it comes now to a point where he's crashing and burning,
yeah,
he's not trying to have a. She went and got a little job. Cool.
You do not like her, do you?
No, I don't mind her, but this is the part that I just don't. That's the one part that I don't like. The money that you've put to the side is not money that you've earned yourself. It's money that he's given you. So when he's down and out, use that money to help him. Use the money to help yourself. The house, like forget your emergency getaway escape fund right now, because what are you escaping? Yeah. He's a fool because she's telling you
he is a fool. Like, why is he? Yeah, go. I'll let you finish.
Number one, you're giving this person all your earnings, which I think you should never do.
Yeah.
Like, you should always keep something for yourself. So that's the part of escape fund that I agree with. I don't class it as an escape fund, but everybody
just a rainy day pot.
Right. Everybody should have something for themselves. You shouldn't have to share every little last penny that you earn with the person that you're with.
Yeah.
He's a fool now because he's not comfortable with her going out to work because he wants to be this sole provider, etc., etc. But at the moment he needed support, he was okay with it, right? Because she said she went and got a job when he couldn't.
Yeah. When he couldn't work, yeah.
So now he's back on his feet. Now he thinks, I don't need the support. Oh, your money won't do anything. But do you know what's better than zero? Something. So he's a fool. I ain't got no sympathy with him for that. The one part that I do have any type of sympathy for him for is the fact that the money that he was giving her, she's pocketed and then not used it in the time of need.
Yeah.
That's my only gripe with her. Outside of that, he's a fool.
He is.
She's not.
She had a good setup, stay-at-home girlfriend, because she's not a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah.
They don't have pets even. Do you know, like, what's
this
she
is my
looking
thing.
after?
If there was kids, then it would be different.
It would be different. It actually would really be different.
So is she? She's 50%. They're both accountable, I think. 50-50 liable.
I would say everyone is the asshole here because one.
Even her mum.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone is an asshole here. So I'm going to go one by one. He is, like you said, a complete fool because if you're trying to do this whole provider thing and this, that, and the other, you can't necessarily be angry with the support, lack of support, because you insisted that your partner has this life, you know? So you can't blame her for what she's doing in any capacity because you wanted to give her this life. For some reason, you've got it in your head that this is what a provider is. So you can't now hold any contempt towards her for how she's doing things, you know, because you said that. So that's my thing with him. Like really shouldn't have insisted on doing that and then felt bad or felt away when it went in a particular way. With her, I feel, because I want to respond to your point, and I think if you are a stay-at-home anything, like your partner said you're not going to work, blah, 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 the money that he's providing to you for everything is your money now, you know, because he has assigned those roles, you know. He has stopped her from working, like insisted that she can't do that. So that money is hers and she can do what she wants with it, including putting stuff to the side for herself, you know. Where I say she is wrong completely is in so many areas. Firstly, what is this escape fund business, you know? Everyone should have a pot, like a savings pot. So that's why I don't feel any type of way with her for keeping some money to the side, because he should be doing that and she's smart for doing that because she's not getting money from anywhere. So she kind of has to. Yeah. Say if something did happen or whatever, like she's got nothing, she's not working. Her resume has been whatever it's been for a minute because of that. So whatever, even if like, you know, something devastating happened, not even him leaving, she needs something. I think it's so a complete lack of support for her to not help him when he's going through a hard time. You know, I agree with you there. Like, he is struggling. And this is why it's so important not to bring third people into your relationship, because she's kind of going by everything her mum is saying and not looking at a partnership, like the life that they're building and him as a person, as a human, as her husband, and someone in her life who she cares about, who is struggling. Yeah. And willing to like let him, like his well-being to be the cost of that, while she's refusing to downsize and refusing to help out. And that doesn't mean use the whole 47K. Like, you can have in your head a minimum amount that you need in your account just as savings for a rainy day, and then do something to help out. And she doesn't have to disclose how much that is either, because she might want to keep 20K of that for herself, and she's allowed to do that. I don't know why he decided to give all his finance over like that.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That level of it is very true, but I just think the classing of it as an escape fund is probably what rubbed me up the wrong way.
Same.
And at the end of the day, if she wants to work, you can't stop her from working. What's he going to do? So if she doesn't want to downsize, she's within her right to say, I don't want to downsize. But he's saying work is stressing him out, is killing him.
He's like, what about the kids?
Like, he's saying it's stressing him out and killing him, but he's not willing to let her go and help. So I don't know what he wants from her. So it just sounds like a lose-lose situation. Maybe they are best to just separate.
Yeah. And you know what? This whole escape fund thing, I totally get it. Like, it's initially like a thing for women who are experiencing more abusive relationships and stuff like that, you know. But that's where like having someone, and it can even be your mother, having someone come in and like paint a picture about the person that you're with and stuff like that, it's just so, it's so dangerous, because then you're looking at your person like this character, you know, of all these what ifs and could be's instead of who they actually are. Yeah. Rainy day fund, cool. Yeah. But an escape fund, why are you even there in the first place? And as a total side note, this is why it's so important to have these conversations with someone that you're getting to know or dating, or your partner, before you get into these situations. 100%. You know? 100%. Like, what do you think about finances? Blah, blah, blah.
That in itself is a whole another episode.
Yeah. I didn't say what are your finances and how do you do that, but just in terms of like when you're in a serious partnership,
yeah,
like,
you have to have these conversations.
That to look like,
100%. 100%.
Like, do your goals align with mine? Because I believe in having your own money, you know, that's put to the side. And I respect not needing to. I would hope that my partner does that too, and I wouldn't need to know what that amount is. I just hope it's enough to really look after us on that rainy day.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Literally. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, brings us to the end of the episode.
Yes, it does. And that brings us to our favorite time.
You got any words of advice for the people before
of advice. No, I don't. You can start. I need thinking time.
Just full circle moment back to what we was talking about. Support. Support yourself as much as you support others would be my words of advice.
Yeah.
Simple and sweet.
My word of advice, and I'm just going to say it because I experienced it as of late, but you've got to ask for help. You don't have to be in that conversation and know exactly what to say. Like when I sat down with a mental health champion, I didn't lead that conversation. I didn't know what to say. I just let her do the work because she's the expert and that's what they're there for. You know, like that guy you spoke to, he knew that all he had to do was listen. So ask for help and help will come. Everything will be taken care of.
Yeah. Nice. All right. On that note, thanks for listening to another episode or watching, however you take in our content. We appreciate it.
We really do. Thank you for supporting us.
Always keep supporting us and we will support you.
Yeah. Vice
versa. Follow us, check out our stuff, search Alphawaves podcast on all, I'm not going to say all platforms, but TikTok, Instagram,
Spotify,
YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Message us if you need any, what's the word? I won't even say advice. Anyone to speak to, any place to sound off on.
Yeah, if anything hit you harder and you want to speak to people who can relate,
let us know.
We always reply.
And if we can't give you the answers, we can always signpost you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you again. And until next time.
Until then.